Welcome to the Unapologetic Man Podcast, the only podcast that's all about self-improvement, confidence, success, women, and being a man without making any apologies for it. What is up, gentlemen? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the UMP. I really do appreciate it. And if you're watching on video, you can see that I'm now in my new recording studio. Not completely done yet. Got to get that wall painted black again. It's a little blotchy, as things happen when you do paint black, which I just found out by the painters. So before we slap up the unapologetic sign and my logo, etc., we got to get that Bad Jackson painted again. But I'm so freaking pumped to be in this basement. I've been waiting 6 months to finally get into this place. It took forever. The guy who finished it was moving slower than pond water, moving slower than a freaking glacier. But overall, I'm extremely happy with it. And I'm finally down here. I was living out of a suitcase for 6 months, man. We moved into this house and I was in the guest bedroom where you're taking a shower and your 4-year-old daughter just walks in and she's like, "Can I get in with you?" And you're like, "Oh my hell, I need my own space." So I finally got it. I'm going to dial this place in. It's going to be super sick. And I'm extremely excited. So if you've never watched this on video before, go over to YouTube. I get so few views on YouTube compared to Spotify and iTunes. I really appreciate your guys' support over there. It's called the Unapologetic Man Podcast with CoachMarkSing. If you could leave comments on there, like, subscribe, I'd really appreciate it because I think in some way I've been sandboxed over on YouTube. So if you want to check out my new pad, it's just basically black behind me at this time. But all my other videos are on there where you can see my logo. I have an unapologetic sign and you can see what my ugly mug looks like. I definitely have a face that was made for radio, if you've ever heard that joke before. But gentlemen, today we are going to talk about a concept called 18 minutes to mastery. This is something that I've been wanting to introduce to you guys because it's a really interesting concept about how mastery takes place. All of you guys listening are masters in one thing or another. Be it your job, a hobby, perhaps even video games, you've mastered that. And the reason you've done that is because of practice. I mean, it's cliche, but it's an ultimate truth that practice makes perfect. So the more you practice something, the better you get at it. The problem with women in dating is that many of you guys attribute your own self-worth according to whether or not women like you or are attracted to you. But what you fail to realize is that it's just a skill set. Getting girls is just a skill set, such as playing baseball, swimming, playing video games, whatever it is that you're into, it's just a skill set. And the fact that you're not good at getting women oftentimes comes down to the fact that you simply haven't practiced it. You haven't built that mastery. So they've done a lot of research on mastery, what it takes to become an expert in anything. And on average, it takes about 18 minutes a day of practice for a year to become an expert at anything. Think about that. If you never played golf in your life and you were to practice golf for literally 18 minutes a day for 1 year straight, that's 365 days, you will be, for all intents and purposes, an expert. Obviously, an expert is somewhat subjective. Would you be able to go on the PGA Tour and win one of them yellow jackets? I think that's what they do. Obviously not, but an expert saying that you're proficient in it, you can get results on a relatively consistent basis. And when it comes to women, you can yank girls pretty much on command. You can flip attraction hot switches in women's heads pretty much anytime you want to, get girls attracted to you when you want them to be attracted to you, and that's 18 minutes a day to mastery. Now, the way we do this is, as I always talk about, not only listening to podcasts, but more importantly, gentlemen, getting out there in the field and actually learning how to speak to women, getting experience. And one of the most important things is being able to endure social pressure. Unlike golf, baseball, or any other hobby that you're putting the 18 minutes a day into, getting good with women requires you to endure social pressure. It requires you to have positive belief systems about yourself in your head so that you behave correctly. And of course, your ability to spit game effectively, lead her to where she wants to be led, give her an experience that's going to generate attraction in her so that you can hook up with her, make her your girlfriend, whatever it is. So with this concept, 18 minutes a day, this is the way I'd suggest you go about it. First of all, as I said, you can't just listen to one podcast a day for roughly 20 minutes, which coincidentally is how long my podcasts are. You can't do that. While I suggest you, of course, supplement your day to day training with podcasts, and of course, I feel my podcast is by far the best dating podcast on the market, you have to get out there and talk to women. Now, how do you do that? Well, a lot of you guys are up against that approach anxiety, fear of rejection, as I've often spoken about in this podcast. The way you do it is, of course, to open and eject. Just go up to women, talk to them. Don't put any pressure on the situation. Don't try to get phone numbers. Don't even try to get attraction. Just go up, approach, and then eject. Ask a quick question and then get the hell out of there. In addition to that, you need to somehow work on the belief systems inside your head. Now, I, of course, have a 3-month coaching program to where we tackle these. And the reason it's 3 months is because we pack a year worth of experience into 3 months. So rather than 20 minutes a day, it's an hour a day of studying, going out to talk to women, doing NLP, coming into the coaching calls, doing the homework, etc., which in the 3 months equals about 18 minutes a day, which really fascinated me when I saw this stat because I was like, damn, my entire program makes guys an expert in 3 months. And that's the same as 18 minutes a day over a year. So it really does apply. So to get better with women with 18 minutes a day, it really doesn't sound like much, does it? This sounds like something that each of you could do. And again, it has to be outside of simply listening to my podcast. Going to talk to girls, doing some internal work, whether or not you work with me or hire a psychologist, that's up to you, but starting to address the bullshit inside your head. Getting on such things as dating apps, doing what I call top of funnel ideas, cold approach, putting yourself out there so that you can simply get experience. What I always tell my brothers in my 3-month coaching program is, look, I don't want you to get a girlfriend. I don't want you to meet the woman of your dreams or who you think, quote unquote, will be the woman of your dreams because you haven't had the experience yet and you don't know exactly what you want because you haven't experienced enough girls to be able to filter for what's good and what's bad. So in the program, I actually suggest to my guys to go on dates with girls that they're not attracted to. Why would I suggest this? Because when you're not attracted to a girl, you're not under what I call social pressure. Social pressure is when you go speak to a hot girl who you're highly attracted to, and there's that pressure on you, which makes guys go into screensaver mode, gets them stifled. They can't think on their feet. They're able to banter with their best friend, but they can't bring that banter into interactions with hot girls. The reason that is because of social pressure. So the way you overcome social pressure, such as applying this 18 minutes a day, is to literally go out with women who you're not that attracted to so you can see how you behave when you're sitting across from a girl who, for lack of a better explanation, would be described as a canyon mule. You're not under pressure, so you see how you should behave when you're with a hot girl. Then once you're able to decipher how you should be acting correctly, because again, and I need to reiterate, you act correctly when you're sitting across from a girl you're not attracted to. Once you understand how you're supposed to act, then you up the ante as far as hotness is concerned. So now you're talking to slightly cuter girls and you're like, okay, this girl I'm kind of attracted to. She's maybe got some sexy eyes and a nice ass. Everything else about her is like meh, but there's a few things about her I'm attracted to. So I'm going to try to behave the same way I did with that mountain troll that I dated last week as with this girl who in my book is about a 7. So then you get used to the 7s, practicing again, 18 minutes a day, or you could just bunch it all up into one session a week where it's 2 to 3 hours of practicing this stuff really intensively. And you're going on dates now with girls who are slightly hotter. And then you slowly up the ante while you're continuously practicing your tactics, while hopefully you're working on the bullshit in your head, which of course is the most important thing you can do. Taking that 18 minutes a day to go into this frontally, dealing with your psychology and dealing with trying to build this skill set. Because again, that's all it is. So how do we get good at hitting a baseball? The way we do it is we get in the batting cages and we do reps upon reps upon reps. So if you can divide your week into that all important 18 minutes a day, or bunch it all up into a Saturday and Sunday where you do 2 to 3 hours. I think 18 minutes a day times 7 is roughly 2 hours. So you simply give yourself that amount of time as an obligation to practice each week. Now, again, if you want to speed this up, think about it. If you were just to do 18 minutes a day for a year, you will be, for all intents and purposes, a quote unquote black belt. I'd say with women, you'd probably be more like a brown belt, but let's just say you're a black belt. That's not much practice if you think about it. The problem is, as I always say, is a lot of you guys are podcast jockeys. Unless you've listened to 5 or less episodes, you have had enough information to be able to go out and simply practice. And right now you're listening to this episode, and I'm telling you, all you need to do is go up to women, ask a quick question, and then dig out. Then what you need to do is continue listening to episodes, take those concepts that you really like and go actually practice them, rep them out, just like that analogy of you in the batting cages. So for example, you really like the concept of, let's say, I don't know, cold reading. Cold reading is where you tell her one part of her is one way, the other part of her is the other way, and that's how she is. And surprisingly, 99% of women agree with this. So I can say to you, hey man, when I talk to you, you seem really charismatic, you seem really warm, you're just a cool guy. But I get the feeling that deep inside, like deep inside of who you really are, you're not to be fucked with, huh? Like if somebody really pissed you off, you would speak up for yourself and let them know that behavior does not stand. Is that right? It's kind of the feeling I'm getting about you. That's a cold read that you could do to women. Say, for example, she's really giving you the bitch shield. She's giving you a lot of challenges. You could point out, hey, you know what? I get a feeling about you. On the outside, you have this not to be fucked with vibe, but I bet deep inside, you're probably the best friend a girl could possibly have. Like you're really warm, you're really caring, you're really empathetic. And I feel like that's what your best friend would tell me about you. Is that right? And of course, 99% of the time, they're going to say that's right. So what you do is take a concept that you really like. And what I always suggest is get concepts that you like throughout the ones you don't, because your belief in the concept is literally 90% of the game. So you get a concept that you like, you go out and you rep it, and you practice it on every single girl who you talk to that week. Yes, gentlemen, including girls that you met on Hinge that look like an unfrozen cave woman, and you're just practicing on her. So you get a couple gambits, a couple cold reads, maybe a hypo story, a couple push-pull moves. You're telling personal stories from your past, and then you rep it out with this chick, totaling about 2 hours per week over a year, and then you're going to get mastery. And when I say mastery, I say it with air quotes because mastery is obviously subjective. But I think for all you guys, what your goal is to get attraction on command. If you see a cute girl that you want to talk to, first of all, you have the balls to go talk to her. Secondly, you have the confidence within yourself to know what to talk about and to know that you're the prize and she's lucky to be talking to you. And third of all, you're able to flip attraction hot switches in her head so that you can yank her phone number. You know what to text her. You know what to do on the first date. I feel like that's most of your goals. Brothers, if you simply practiced for 18 minutes a day, science has proven that you can get to a point of mastery within a year. Yet still, a lot of you guys won't do it because, as I always say, you're podcast jockeys. You're listening to episodes thinking, I need more information. Once Mark teaches me a few more things, then I'll get out there and do this. It's not how it works. Get out there and do it now, because lack of execution due to fear is the number one reason most people do not achieve their goals. They're scared of failure because they've built it up in their head, specifically when it comes to women, that if I fail with a woman, I'm not worth it. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. Or worse, I'm not lovable, which is what my mom unconsciously communicated to me during my childhood before I could defend myself. And that's just going to prove it. It's going to substantiate it. So what do you guys do? You listen to episodes, you buy PDFs, you get all this information. And I'm sure a lot of you guys could even probably teach this shit because you've had so much information, but you've literally approached 2 girls in your entire life. Or some of you keep settling for girls that aren't up to your standards because you don't feel that you're up to your standards. So you're afraid to go approach a girl who you think is above you. All that bullshit needs to be conquered 2 ways: with experience, getting out there, as I talk about, approaching and ejecting, dating girls you're not attracted to, learning how to endure social pressure, and then also tackling the bullshit inside your head, committing to this for 18 minutes a day. 18 minutes a day is so simple, especially if, again, you just stack it into one afternoon. If I were to do this and starting completely over, of course, I'd come into MarkSing's epic, radical, amazing 3-month coaching program because that shit works and it's a black hole shortcut to cut down that 1-year training trajectory to just 3 months. And honestly, I feel like I get guys 3 years worth of experience within 3 months because I 10x their results. And it happens time and time again. But let's just say 1 year to be conservative. You can get that down in 3 months. How sick would it be to attract any girl on command in 3 fucking months? But still, some of you guys aren't going to join me. I don't understand why, but you're going to do what you're going to do. So I challenge you to get out there on an average of 18 minutes a day or 2 hours a week, taking an afternoon to approach girls consistently. And then for the rest of the week, you could go back to being a podcast jockey. And I know you guys listen to this while you're driving, while you're working out, taking walks, whatever. I'm cool with that because information is necessary and it is important. But when you're practicing, you're repping, dude. Just like you're in the batting cages, swinging at balls, taking hits. Once you get good at one concept, such as cold reading, then you practice another concept, push-pull, or you practice some of your storytelling, or you practice attracting building concepts like the cube, five-finger death punch, the pig, messages in water, strawberry fields, and the myriad of gambits that I give my guys in my 3-month coaching program so you can flip attraction hot switches on command. 18 minutes a day. Pretty damn worth it if you think about it. The difference, of course, is whether or not you guys are going to go out and do it. I want to ask you, yes, you listening, a straight up question. Are you making excuses as to why you can't talk to a hot girl? When you see one, which I know you have, at least over the last week, how did you talk yourself out of it? What did you do? Why did you not instead go open somebody else who didn't matter? Get yourself warmed up. Then open another girl. Yes, perhaps in the same supermarket that you saw that banger in. Open another girl and another girl and another girl until you're warmed up, and then just go ask that banger, hey, where'd you get that wine in your cart? I'm looking for that exact brand. Just one simple question to put some social pressure on yourself and then dig out. Then you did that, you give yourself a nice pat on the back because you're a champion, and then you up the ante next time. Maybe ask her a second question. Or after you've gone on a few dates with a couple of canyon mules and you've practiced the five-finger death punch, you're like, all right, I'm feeling confident about that. I know how I should behave in front of a hot girl because it's the same way I should do so in front of a girl I'm not attracted to. Then you go into the supermarket, ask her where she got the wine, and then you run the five-finger death punch on her. Then you dip out, give yourself that all-important pat on the back. You're doing 18 minutes a day, just repping it out, getting better and better and better. Just imagine where you'd be in a year. So again, guys, I want to challenge you to take this on. 18 minutes a day, that's nothing. Kind of makes me want to go out and take up a new hobby. I've kind of been thinking about rock climbing, to be honest with you. What if I were to just practice 18 minutes a day, or on a Saturday, I go to the rock climbing gym for 2 hours consistently. And then on my off times, perhaps I listen to rock climbing podcasts or I watch videos about it and I get the info and then I go deploy it. I research the best shoes to wear, the kind of, chalk you're supposed to use and the carabiners and the rope. And I start getting my knowledge up, but at the same time, practicing out on the rocks for 18 minutes a day. Maybe I'll do that. And I could be pretty damn good in a year. Sounds worth it to me. It's the consistency that's important. It's facing your fears. It's challenging yourself. And of course, when it comes to women, it's about working on the bullshit inside your head. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of good advice as to where you can go get that shit fixed, pertaining specifically to your traumas, your belief systems, and your meta programs outside, of course, of my 3-month coaching program. That's something guys write me about. They're like, hey, can you offer some sort of NLP training, some sort of psychological course, something else outside of your program where I can do this? And I have to tell you straight up, I can't, man. This is the only solution that I know of that tackles those things specifically that make you unattractive to women because of your belief systems. Belief systems create your behavior. Your behavior either creates attraction or no attraction in women. So that part of the equation, I'm not able to effectively divide and tell you how to go get it without working with me personally. But if you do all those other things, I can guarantee you, your results will skyrocket over the next year. So gentlemen, I hope you've gotten some value out of this one. I'm now in the basement, and it's funny because I just heard Marissa and Lucia, my 4-year-old daughter, come home, and she just literally ran across my ceiling, even though this thing is supposed to be soundproof, that goddamn contractor moving slower than pond water. There she goes again. It's actually not that bad, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, gentlemen. So I do appreciate you listening. As a reminder, I drop podcasts on Mondays and Thursdays, and I'd really appreciate it for those of you listening on Spotify and iTunes to hop on over to YouTube, check out my podcast, give it a like, give it a follow. Let's try to support it because that too is moving slower than pond water. And I'm trying to get more people to find it because obviously I feel like this is a positive message and I feel like more people need to hear what I have to teach. So gentlemen, thank you again for listening. I drop podcasts on Mondays and Thursdays and I will see you in the next episode.